Since we last spoke, the federal government has announced a benefit for family caregivers called the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit. What do we know so far about this benefit and which family caregivers are eligible?
If a person's work week has been reduced below 60% of the usual work week, and I'm presuming this also means a regular 35 or 40-hour week, but we'll see as time goes by. The person will then receive up to maximum $500 a week for this caregiver benefit. It'll run for up to 26 weeks, and it's not retroactive. I see no indication of that. So it's both the families who have a kid with special needs, or an elderly dependent parent, or children under 12 who can't go to school, for example.
Let me try to clarify something then about any type of wages earned and eligibility. The notion being that the caregiver would have earned or would have had to have earned at least $5,000 in either 2020 or 2019. But we certainly know that a lot of, and that's great for family caregivers who are working part-time as part of their duties. But we also know from the research that a lot of family caregivers are not actually working. If they're looking after adults at home who have high needs or who have actual special needs or disabilities, but they may just as easily be looking after a parent with dementia or a spouse with a neurological disorder, and they haven't been able to participate in the workforce. Are they still eligible for this new benefit if they have not been working for an indefinite period of time?
Unfortunately, no. And you're right, this again is an oversight in my humble opinion, but this again avoids the family that have been caregivers all their lives, 24/7 for their children or their sister.
You had also mentioned a point about the retroactive sort of factor involved with this benefit. So we know that this announcement came toward the end of the summer, yet many day programs were closed as early as March as a result of the pandemic.
That's right.
So if some of these programs, of course, obviously depending on the outlook to our various communities, but if some of these day programs were to open up again as early as, say, November, is the benefit retroactive at all? Retroactive to March, to April, to May, for any length of time that these programs would have been closed?
No, they commence on September 27th. Yeah, so I don't see any retroactivity. And if programs open up again in November, then if there are available programs, you're obliged to send the child. You could, if you had some special fear of COVID, if the child was at risk, that would still qualify. But you can't, at least the guidelines indicate that you're not supposed to stay at home, stay at home with the child just because you prefer that now that you're being paid, than to actually lay out money to pay for a program that the child used to go to. But the bottom line is, cash flow wise, a person will receive the $500 a week. Good. They can work 55% of what they were working. Okay. That means they can preserve their job, their position, their employer is content because the critical stuff's happening. And then what happens is when they file their 2020 return, it's adjusted. And so the net potentially taxable benefit to them may decrease. They may have to simply pay back a large chunk of it, if not all. And the part that they do appropriately receive and keep is taxable or income. So there's, part of it will be paid back to the government in the form of taxes. And of course, when you take that $500 and pay tax on it, and then take what's left and buy something for your child, you pay another 13%. So a fair bit of it's going to get thrown back in the pot anyway. It's a cash flow thing.
So ultimately, this is for full-time and part-time workers who've had their, at least percentage-wise, work hours curtailed, and they need to have it curtailed anyway because they have to be at home for their loved one, under 18, over 18, and this benefit could be up to $500, or is it just a flat $500?
It's a flat 500, and then it gets adjusted later.
Now, because there weren't necessarily any sort of grumblings about this benefit potentially coming down from on high, but we also understand that across the board, it doesn't necessarily apply to all family caregivers in their positions.
That's right.
At this stage, I'm just really asking you to, take a guess here, but do we think that there could be even more changes to come with a benefit such as this one, where we've tried to see a little bit more inclusion of various other groups with benefits, since the pandemic, hit all of us? Do we think that that's possible here now that they've at least opened the door with this Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit?
I'll have to give that more thought because, of course, it's all been so far based on the disruption of work, not just the provision of care. It'll be quite beneficial to some people. It clearly isn't beneficial to people that were full-time, non-working caregivers. We know that it's taxable, so there's a reduction at the end of the day. We know as well that there's a 50% offset in the other portions of the program if you have present employment income. So it'll be very interesting to see, just aside from a cash flow question and a bit of a soothing effect, whether it's actually a net benefit of any size. But it's a good thing to have right now.
Seems like a good start.
Good start. Good. That's right. A good start. That's a good way to put it.
To find out if you are eligible for the Canada Recovery Caregiving Benefit and for information about how to apply, click on the link in the video description below. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to take our quick survey to give us your feedback. Find the link in the video description below.